The jungle of Krithos Prime was alive in a way that made most newcomers feel uneasy. Trees with luminescent leaves stretched high, their branches twisting like serpents under the dim glow of the planet's twin moons. Strange flowers pulsed gently in the dark, and the air was thick with a scent that reminded Dr. Alara Miles of iron and wet soil. Every step she took on the soft moss-covered ground made a faint sound, swallowed almost immediately by the hum of the alien night. Alara had come to Krithos Prime as part of an interstellar research mission. Her job was simple in theory: observe the apex predator of the planet, a creature that locals had nicknamed the Krithos Reaper. In reality, the task was anything but simple. The predator was enormous, six-limbed, with claws that glinted under the moon's light. Its bioluminescent crest pulsed, signaling dominance and warning anyone or anything that dared approach. She had studied the creature through cameras and remote sensors for weeks, but now, standing in the jungle herself, she realized how different it was to watch with her own eyes. Her observation pod sat on stilts above the undergrowth, partially hidden by the glowing flora. She had spent hours adjusting her equipment, setting motion sensors and calibrating her cameras. Even with all this preparation, she felt a thrill of nervous excitement. The predator had appeared near the edge of her observation zone only once before, and that sighting had lasted mere seconds. Today, she hoped she would see more. As she watched the darkness, a movement caught her eye, a figure stepping carefully through the dense undergrowth. At first, she thought it might be another human researcher, but this person moved differently. There was no fear in his steps, no hesitation. He moved like he knew exactly where every branch, root, and predator was before even seeing it. Her breath caught. She had read the files about human capabilities in extreme environments, but nothing in her experience prepared her for this. The human's confidence was extraordinary. Normally, humans in these zones were cautious, layered in protective armor and armed to the teeth. Yet this man carried nothing but a small pack and himself. His bare hands were visible, muscles tensed, eyes sharp and alert. Then the sound arrived, a deep, rolling growl vibrating through the ground like thunder. Alara's hand froze over the controls as the predator appeared from the shadows. Its six limbs propelled it forward with astonishing speed, its eyes, glowing faintly green, locked onto the human immediately. The bioluminescent crest along its back flared brighter as it prepared to strike. Most creatures would have frozen. Most humans would have run. But this man did neither. He shifted his weight slightly, planting his feet firmly on the uneven ground. There was a calm, almost casual aura to his stance, as if he were waiting for something he fully expected to arrive. Alara's heart raced. The predator leapt, claws extended, jaws open wide. Time seemed to slow. The human dodged with incredible agility, twisting his body just enough to avoid the first strike. The predator landed with a heavy thud, shaking the ground beneath it. But the human did not panic. Instead, he watched carefully, reading the creature's movements. She could not take her eyes off him. Every move, every subtle shift in his stance was perfectly timed. He was not just fast. He was calculating, predicting, and adapting. She made a note in her recorder. This human, behavior, agility, adaptability, far beyond expectations. The predator lunged again. This time, the human grabbed one of its forelimbs mid-strike. The beast roared in surprise and fury, swinging wildly, but he held firm. He did not strike with weapons. He did not use tools. Instead, he leveraged his own strength and weight against the predator, twisting its limb in a way that slowed its movement. Alara leaned forward, almost forgetting to breathe. She had studied apex predators for decades, seen creatures capable of crushing exosuits and tearing through armored vehicles. Yet here a single human stood in the middle of the jungle, confronting the ultimate predator of this planet with nothing but his body. The predator's claws slashed mere inches from him, but he moved with precision, avoiding every strike. Then, in one fluid motion, he used the predator's own momentum to throw it slightly off balance. The creature stumbled but quickly regained its stance, roaring in frustration. Alara typed furiously into her datapad. Notes will not suffice. Observation. Direct human-apex interaction needs immediate further study. She watched the human's eyes, calm and steady. There was no fear. There was no hesitation. Only focus, determination, and an innate understanding of survival. The predator circled him, trying to find an opening. The man shifted, crouched low, and adjusted his stance as if he were anticipating every move before it happened. Then he attacked. Not with weapons, but with sheer human strength. He struck the predator with an open hand, hitting a vulnerable spot near its side. The creature shrieked, recoiling, then lunged again. Ilara could not stop herself from marveling at him. This is what it means to be human, she thought. Humans were not the largest, fastest, or strongest species in the galaxy, but they had an unpredictable creativity in combat. A mix of intellect, instinct, and sheer endurance that no predator could fully anticipate. The predator lunged a third time, more cautiously now. The human moved in perfect sync, striking, dodging, and twisting. Each blow he delivered was calculated to incapacitate, not just harm. His hands were bruised and scratched from earlier strikes, but he seemed unaffected. Pain did not deter him. It sharpened his focus. Ilara's mind raced. No known species could withstand this level of stress and maintain such precision. She noted the physical strain, muscles tense, minor bleeding, yet no sign of fear or hesitation. She realized that humans, when pushed to their limits, had an almost limitless capacity for adaptation. The predator hesitated for the first time. Its eyes narrowed, tail flicking with agitation. The human took advantage of the moment, circling carefully, never letting his eyes leave the creature. He didn't rush. He didn't panic. Every move was deliberate, each adjustment precise. Then came the moment that left Ilara completely stunned. The human, using the predator's own momentum, grabbed the creature by its shoulders and twisted, forcing it to the ground. The beast struggled, muscles rippling, jaws snapping, but the human held firm, controlling the apex predator without any weapon or external aid. Ilara could barely comprehend it. She was a scientist, trained to analyze, measure, and categorize. But here was a human acting beyond all known principles of strength and survival. It was as if instinct, training, and pure will had merged into something formidable and terrifying. The predator's thrashing slowed. It was not yet defeated, but the human's dominance was clear. Ilara scribbled notes faster than she ever had before. Humans, apex predators by intellect, adaptability, and determination. Physical vulnerability compensated by strategy and resilience. She continued to observe, completely captivated. As the human maintained control, he was aware of the predator's movements, anticipating attacks before they came, striking only when necessary to maintain advantage. There was no cruelty, no unnecessary aggression, only efficiency, focus, and control. Finally, the predator, exhausted and frustrated, backed away slightly. The human didn't pursue unnecessarily. He simply maintained his stance, calm and ready. Ilara's recorder clicked as she finished her notes. She realized that what she had witnessed was a rare combination of courage, strength, and instinct that could not be taught or replicated easily. As the human stepped back, brushing debris from his shoulders, Ilara felt a thrill of understanding. Humans were not merely survivors. They were forces of nature. In a universe filled with predators larger, faster, and more lethal than themselves, humans could hold their ground and even dominate, using nothing but their bodies, minds, and unwavering will. The jungle seemed quieter now, as if it were acknowledging the human's victory, or at least his temporary dominance. The apex predator receded into the shadows, still powerful but momentarily humbled, and Ilara, sitting in her pod high above the ground, realized she had just witnessed something extraordinary, something she would study, analyze, and marvel at for the rest of her life. The night stretched on, but her mind was already racing ahead. If one human could stand against an apex predator on Krythos Prime, what could humans achieve elsewhere in the galaxy? Her recorder captured every sound, every movement, every detail, but she knew that data alone could never fully explain what she had seen. Humans were unpredictable, unstoppable, and unbothered, and in that moment, watching from above, Ilara understood that this was only the beginning. The predator's roar echoed through the jungle, vibrating the ground beneath the human's feet. Despite its size, power, and speed, he did not flinch. His eyes remained locked on the creature, sharp and unyielding. Every movement of the predator, the twitch of its muscles, the flick of its bioluminescent crest, the slight shift of weight in its limbs was observed and calculated. Dr. Ilara Miles watched from above, heart pounding. Her hands gripped the railing of her observation pod as the predator lunged again. She had never imagined a human could withstand a creature of this magnitude with nothing but his bare hands. And yet, here he was, facing down an apex predator with calm, unbroken focus. The human shifted his stance, planting his feet firmly on the soft, mossy ground. He bent his knees slightly, muscles coiled like springs. When the predator's claws slashed through the air, he sidestepped with perfect timing, letting the beast's momentum carry it past him. He used the predator's size against it, redirecting its energy with a precise push, forcing it slightly off balance. Ilara noted every detail. He isn't just strong, he's reading the predator like a book, anticipating, reacting, adapting. This is not instinct alone. This is intellect fused with instinct. The predator snarled, snapping its massive jaws inches from the human's face. The human ducked low, barely avoiding the bite, and retaliated with a sudden strike to the creature's side. The sound of impact resonated through the clearing, a heavy, bone-crunching thud. The predator let out a pained howl, surprised by the force of the human's blow. Ilara's breath caught. The predator was the apex of this world, yet it was reacting as if it had underestimated its opponent. Humans, she muttered under her breath. Unpredictable, adaptable, relentless. The battle intensified. The predator lunged again, faster this time. Claws extended, teeth bared. The human rolled forward, narrowly escaping a swipe that would have torn through most armor. He sprang to his feet, moving with fluid precision, and grabbed one of the predator's forelimbs. Using sheer leverage, he twisted it, forcing the beast to stumble backward. The predator's roar was deafening, but the human did not let go. He shifted, adjusting his grip, his feet planted firmly as he countered each thrash. Ilara's mind raced with calculations. Most humans would have been thrown or crushed by now, but he adapts mid-movement, anticipating every attack. Blood streaked across his arms from minor scratches, but he ignored it. Pain seemed only to sharpen his focus. The predator's claws tore at the ground, digging trenches in the moss, yet he remained calm, responding to each strike with measured force. He wasn't just surviving. He was controlling the fight. Ilara realized something profound. Humans were rarely the fastest or the strongest creatures in the universe, but they were unmatched in one area: the ability to think, adapt, and endure simultaneously. This human, standing in the middle of the alien jungle, embodied that truth perfectly. The predator leapt high, aiming to crush him with sheer force. The human sidestepped, grabbed the creature's hind limb mid-air, and used its momentum to flip it onto the ground. The apex predator hit the earth with a heavy thud, shaking the surrounding foliage.
Yet it was not defeated.
Its eyes glowed with anger and pain, muscles rippling as it rose again, more careful now, assessing its opponent. Ilara could hardly keep her notes organized fast enough. Observation: human anticipates predator's movements. Human uses predator's energy against it. Human displays pain tolerance and adaptability far beyond normal human limits. She glanced at her recorder, thinking how her reports would sound almost unbelievable to her colleagues. The human's breathing remained steady. He was scratched, bruised, slightly bleeding, but every movement was deliberate. He crouched low, measuring the predator's stance, calculating the next moment before it even occurred. He feinted to the left, baiting the predator, and then struck the right with a sudden crushing blow to its shoulder. The predator roared, staggering slightly, caught off guard by both the strategy and strength behind the strike. Ilara's fascination deepened. She had studied countless species, apex predators included, but never had she seen a creature overpowered without weapons or technology. This human wasn't just strong. He was creative, resourceful, and fearless. The predator lunged again, slower this time, as if it now understood the human was not to be underestimated. Its claws swiped wildly, but he moved with perfect timing, letting some hits graze him while countering others with precision. When the predator's massive jaws snapped inches from his head, he ducked, grabbed the creature's lower jaw, and pushed upward with his entire body weight. The predator stumbled, releasing a confused, frustrated growl. Ilara's mind whirled. No species adapts faster. No species recovers so quickly under extreme physical strain. She scribbled furiously in her notes, aware she was witnessing not just survival but dominance. The predator, now cautious, circled him slowly. The human mirrored the movement, matching its rhythm. He wasn't running. He wasn't panicking. He was studying, learning, and applying knowledge in real time. Ilara realized he treated this battle like a puzzle, every strike and dodge a piece in a larger strategy. Then, with a sudden surge of energy, the human struck again. He grabbed the predator's claw mid-swipe and twisted, forcing it to release a swipe aimed at his head. He followed with a strike to a vulnerable point along the creature's side, making it stumble and roar in pain. The jungle seemed to hold its breath as predator and human faced off, locked in an unspoken contest of skill and will. Elara felt her pulse quicken. She had seen humans fight in training simulations, but this was real, raw, unfiltered combat. Every hit, every dodge, every calculated movement showcased why humans, though physically smaller than many predators, could dominate through intelligence, adaptability, and endurance. The predator made a final attempt to assert control, plunging with all 6 limbs and opening its jaws wide. The human sidestepped, caught a limb in one hand, and with a swift motion, twisted and flipped the beast onto the ground. It hit with a heavy thud, momentarily stunned. The human did not relent. He remained poised, maintaining control without panic or fear. Elara's recorder captured every sound, the thuds of claws hitting ground, the human's controlled movements, the predator's frustrated growls. But she knew no recording could fully convey the intensity of what she witnessed. The human had not just survived, he had dominated. As the predator lay momentarily subdued, the human stepped back, taking a deep breath. His arms were scratched and bruised, chest rising and falling steadily, but his eyes remained sharp, scanning the jungle. He had proven something fundamental. Humans were not just survivors. They were apex forces in their own right. Elara leaned back, awestruck. She realized that in a universe filled with massive, dangerous predators, humans' unpredictability, resilience, and intellect gave them an advantage no size or strength could match. One human, barehanded, unarmed, unarmored, had faced an apex predator and remained unbroken. For the first time, she felt a mix of fear and admiration. Fear because humans were far more dangerous than any alien species could predict. Admiration because their potential was limitless. And in that moment, she understood that this was only the beginning of what humanity could achieve in the galaxy. The night stretched on, but the jungle seemed quieter now. The predator had not surrendered entirely, yet it kept its distance, warily observing the human who had dominated it. The human, calm and unbothered, wiped debris from his arms and scanned the surroundings as if nothing extraordinary had happened. Elara's mind raced with possibilities. If one human could do this, what might a group of humans achieve? What other apex predators across the galaxy might they challenge? What other dangers could they confront and overcome? She typed her final note for the night. Humans. Apex not by size, speed, or armor, but by adaptability, intellect, endurance, and unyielding will. Observed one human dominating a Krythos Prime apex predator barehanded. Result, predator temporarily subdued, human unbroken, calm, efficient. Her eyes lingered on the clearing where the human now stood, surveying the jungle. Even in the darkness, his presence was commanding, almost otherworldly. Elara realized she had witnessed not just a battle, but a revelation. Humans were forces of nature, unpredictable, unstoppable, and unbothered. And as the moons cast their soft glow over the jungle, she understood something else as well. This human was only the beginning. Humanity's story in the galaxy had only just started, and whatever challenges came next, it was clear. They would face them with courage, intelligence, and a will that refused to break. The predator's eyes glowed brightly in the darkness, reflecting a mixture of anger and caution. Its massive chest heaved, muscles rippling beneath thick armored skin as it circled the human. Every step it took cracked twigs and shifted the glowing undergrowth. It was clear the beast had finally realized that this human was no ordinary prey. The human stood tall, bare hands ready, body coiled like a spring. He did not flinch as the predator lunged, claws extended. Instead, he moved with precision, dodging the strike and using the beast's momentum against it. With a swift grab of one of the predator's forelimbs, he twisted, forcing the creature off balance. The predator roared, thrashing violently, but he held on. Dr. Elara Miles, high above in her observation pod, watched in awe. Her fingers flew across the datapad as she recorded every detail. Observation. Human anticipates predator's actions. Uses leverage, timing, and agility to counter raw strength. Pain tolerance extreme. Cognitive processing under high stress exceptional. The predator leapt again, faster and more aggressively, its glowing crest flaring like a warning beacon. The human ducked low, narrowly avoiding its razor-sharp claws. Then in one fluid motion he twisted, pulling the predator off its feet and onto the ground. The impact shook the nearby foliage, sending bioluminescent spores floating into the air like tiny stars. The predator struggled, attempting to rise, but the human maintained his grip. He didn't strike blindly. Instead, he exploited every opening, targeting pressure points and joints with calculated force. Each move was precise, efficient, and lethal in intent, yet executed with control. Ilara's breath caught. Humans are not naturally the strongest, yet this one demonstrates a level of physical mastery that even the apex predator cannot predict. She scribbled notes furiously, noting the remarkable fusion of strategy, agility, and raw human strength. The predator roared again, thrashing its limbs, claws scraping against rocks and roots. It lunged sideways, attempting to claw the human's torso. The human rolled with the motion, letting the predator's own force carry it forward. He sprang to his feet, struck the creature with an open palm to its chest, and pushed with every ounce of his strength. The predator stumbled backward, clearly affected by the unexpected strike. Ilara's eyes widened. She had read about humans enduring extreme physical stress, but witnessing it firsthand was something entirely different. Every bruise, every minor cut, every strain of muscle seemed to sharpen him rather than weaken him. Pain, instead of slowing him, heightened his focus. The predator hesitated, circling once more. Its 6 limbs dug into the mossy ground as it analyzed its opponent. Unlike most prey, this human did not fear it. Unlike other predators, he did not flee. He moved with a calm, unshakable confidence, anticipating every movement with almost uncanny precision. Suddenly, the predator lunged with incredible speed, claws slicing through the air. The human sidestepped, grabbed its attacking limb, and twisted sharply. The creature stumbled, letting out a frustrated growl, then lunged again. But each attack was met with a counter, each strike absorbed, each dodge perfectly timed. Ilara could barely keep her notes legible. No external weapons, no armor. Human uses instinct, intellect, and physical skill in combination to dominate apex predator. Reaction time exceptional. Pain endurance beyond known human limits. The predator, realizing brute force alone would not work, changed tactics. It tried feints, sudden directional changes, and even roared to intimidate. The human, however, did not panic. He read the changes in posture, the shift in weight, the movement of claws, and adjusted his own stance. Each counterattack was faster, more precise, exploiting the predator's mistakes and miscalculations. Then came the critical moment. The predator lunged from above, aiming to crush the human under its weight. He leapt aside just in time, letting it crash onto the ground. Seizing the opportunity, he gripped the creature's forelimb and twisted, using leverage to keep it restrained. The predator thrashed violently, but he remained composed, never losing control. Ilara felt a thrill of understanding wash over her. Humans were not just capable of surviving extreme danger, they could dominate it. Their combination of physical endurance, mental acuity, and adaptability made them unpredictable and unstoppable. This human, standing in the middle of Krithis Prime's deadliest jungle, proved that. The predator roared, the sound echoing across the trees like rolling thunder. It attempted to bite, claw, and kick, but each attack was anticipated, countered, and nullified. The human's movements were almost artistic in their efficiency. Dodges, rolls, strikes, and holds flowing together in a seamless dance of survival. Ilara typed rapidly, "Observation. Human dominance not reliant on size or strength alone. Psychological composure under extreme threat integral to success. Predator adaptation limited against unpredictable, intelligent opponent." The predator, clearly growing exhausted, slowed its attacks. Its breathing was heavy, muscles quivering with strain. The human, though bruised and bloodied, maintained perfect posture. Sweat dripped down his face, mixing with dirt and minor cuts, but his eyes remained unwavering, scanning, calculating, and ready. In a final, bold move, the predator leapt high, aiming for a powerful strike from above. The human sidestepped, using the creature's momentum to bring it crashing down again. Then, with a forceful twist, he pinned it to the ground momentarily, controlling its massive limbs without any apparent effort. The beast struggled, but the human's hold remained firm. Ilara's heart raced. She had never seen anything like it. Humans were taught that survival depended on intelligence, planning, and strength. But here was proof that raw will and adaptability, combined with physical skill, made them a force no predator could easily overcome. The predator's movements slowed further. Its roars became less frequent, more labored. It attempted one last desperate lunge, but the human shifted with perfect timing, dodging and countering simultaneously. It was clear that the apex predator was no longer in control. The human had claimed dominance. Alara scribbled the final notes in her datapad. Result: predator temporarily subdued. Human unharmed aside from minor scratches and bruises. Demonstrates human adaptability, resilience, and superiority in unexpected combat scenarios. Apex status by intellect, endurance, and unyielding will. As the predator backed away slightly, panting and cautious, the human remained poised, scanning the clearing. He did not chase the creature unnecessarily. He understood that control was not about brute force alone, but about knowing when to strike and when to hold back. Alara could hardly tear her eyes away. Every moment of this encounter reinforced her growing realization. Humans were not merely another species in the galaxy. They were a new kind of force, one that predators could not fully anticipate, understand, or overpower. The predator disappeared slowly into the dense jungle, but Alara knew this was only temporary. Even at rest it remained powerful, aware, and dangerous. Yet the human stood unshaken, watching its retreat without fear. She leaned back in her observation pod, overwhelmed by a mixture of awe and disbelief. Humans could dominate not through size, speed, or alien enhancements, but through ingenuity, endurance, and relentless determination. In a universe full of unimaginable dangers, they were uniquely equipped to confront, adapt, and survive. As the night deepened, the human straightened, brushing moss and debris from his arms. His breathing was steady, calm, and controlled. He moved with deliberate grace, each step measured, each gesture unhurried. Alara realized that the human's confidence was not arrogance, it was experience, honed by countless situations where adaptability and quick thinking mattered more than sheer strength. She tapped her recorder, ensuring every detail of the encounter was documented. No one would believe the raw power, skill, and calm intelligence she had witnessed without evidence. And yet she knew that no recording could capture the full essence of what made humans extraordinary. The human scanned the jungle once more, his posture relaxed but alert. He did not smile or boast. He did not celebrate. He simply existed, fully aware of his surroundings, fully in command of himself, and fully unbothered by the apex predator he had just bested. Alara took a deep breath. She had come to Krythos Prime to study predators, but what she had witnessed was far more significant. She had seen humanity in action, raw and unfiltered. She had seen how intelligence, willpower, and adaptability could overcome even the most fearsome of creatures. And in that moment, she knew this was only the beginning. If one human could face an apex predator on Krythos Prime and remain unbroken, what might humanity achieve across the stars? Her recorder clicked as the human moved into the shadows of the jungle, leaving the clearing quiet once more. The predator had retreated, but the lesson was clear. Humans were forces of nature, unpredictable and unstoppable, their potential far beyond what any alien species could predict. Alara leaned back, eyes still fixed on the darkness where the human had disappeared. One truth burned in her mind. In a galaxy filled with danger, humanity would not just survive, they would thrive, dominate, and redefine what it meant to be apex. The jungle seemed to hold its breath. Even the usual hum of alien insects had quieted as the predator crouched low, its 6 limbs trembling with exhaustion. Its glowing crest flickered erratically, signaling confusion and frustration. The apex predator of Krythos Prime had faced countless hunters, yet this human had survived and dominated. The human wiped a smear of moss and blood from his arms. His movements were calm, deliberate, almost casual, but there was an intensity in his eyes that spoke volumes. He was not reckless nor careless. Every motion, every gesture had purpose. He studied the predator carefully, anticipating its next move, ready to respond instantly. Dr. Alara Miles, high in her observation pod, couldn't take her eyes off him. She felt a mix of disbelief and awe. Her fingers hovered over her data pad as she scribbled notes frantically. Human endurance extraordinary. Cognitive processing under extreme stress superior. Strategy and intuition combined for apex-level performance without weapons or armor. The predator lunged again, slower this time, almost tentatively. The human sidestepped with a precise flowing motion, allowing the creature's momentum to carry it past him. Then, with a sudden strike, he grabbed the predator's forelimb and twisted. The creature shrieked in pain but could not throw him off. Every thrash, every attempt to break free was countered with calm precision. Alara gasped silently. The predator is powerful, but it cannot predict the human's moves. Intelligence and adaptability trump size and brute strength. The predator, frustrated, changed tactics. It backed up, crouched low, and attempted a feint, a sudden dart forward meant to intimidate and confuse. The human, however, remained unfazed. He read the subtle cues, the tension in its muscles, the slight shift of its weight, and reacted instantly. He feinted in return, baiting the predator into overextending. Then came the moment Alara had been waiting for. The human acted decisively. He moved with astonishing speed, grabbing the predator mid-lunge and using its own force to slam it against a nearby tree trunk. The impact shook the clearing, sending glowing spores swirling like tiny stars in the night air. The predator growled, its massive chest heaving, muscles trembling from effort. But the human didn't pause. He maintained control, adjusting his grip and stance. He did not strike out of anger or fear. Every move was calculated to subdue, not destroy. Alara realized that humans had a different way of asserting dominance. They did not need to destroy their opponent, only to prove control. The predator tried a final, desperate lunge, aiming to bite. The human sidestepped, grabbed its head, and twisted with all his strength. The creature thrashed, but he held firm, using leverage and precision. Slowly, the apex predator's movements slowed. It was exhausted, both physically and mentally, while the human remained steady, composed, and unbroken. Alara felt a thrill run through her. She had observed countless predators, many of which were lethal in their environments, but this human had demonstrated something extraordinary: the ability to dominate an apex predator through intelligence, adaptability, and pure willpower. The predator finally stopped, lowering its massive body to the ground. It glared at the human, nostrils flaring, chest heaving, but it no longer attacked. The human released his hold slightly, standing tall, unscathed except for minor scratches. He had not celebrated. He had simply asserted control, proving his dominance through skill and calm determination. Alara leaned back in her pod, recording her final notes. Observation confirmed. Humans dominate through intellect, endurance, and adaptability. Apex predator subdued without external weapons or armor. Human remains unbroken, unafraid, and fully in control. As the predator slowly retreated into the jungle shadows, the human scanned the area carefully. He moved with awareness and caution, ensuring no sudden threat could catch him off guard. Alara realized this was another lesson humans possessed. They combined raw physical skill with continuous awareness, something most species lacked. She watched him disappear into the dark foliage, calm, unbothered yet fully alert. The jungle returned to its normal hum, but Alara could not shake the awe she felt. Humans were not merely another species. They were forces of nature, capable of unmatched adaptability and dominance. The moons of Krithos Prime glowed faintly above, casting pale light over the clearing. Alara took a deep breath. She had expected to study predators, but she had witnessed something far greater: the human as an apex force, capable of commanding a world of creatures through intelligence, courage, and unwavering will. She knew her report would change the way humanity was seen across the galaxy. One human, barehanded, unarmed, had faced and dominated an apex predator, proving that survival was only one part of humanity's strength. They could thrive, adapt, and assert themselves in ways no one else could. And as the human vanished into the jungle, Alara understood that this was only the beginning. Humanity's story in the galaxy was unfolding, and what she had witnessed was a single chapter of an extraordinary tale. The night deepened, but Alara could not leave her observation post. Her mind replayed every detail of the encounter, each movement of the human and the predator. She realized she had witnessed more than a fight. She had witnessed a revelation. Humans were not apex due to strength or speed. They were apex because of intelligence, resilience, and an unyielding will. The human returned to the clearing briefly, scanning the environment. Minor scratches marked his arms, and a faint trickle of blood ran down his forearm, but his posture remained calm and upright. He was unshaken, unhurried, unbothered by what he had just faced. Alara marveled at the contrast between his physical vulnerability and his mental and physical dominance. She thought of the predator, massive and terrifying, now retreating into the shadows. It had tested its strength, challenged its limits, yet it could not defeat this human. The lesson was clear. No amount of size, speed, or natural weaponry could surpass adaptability, intelligence, and resolve. Alara leaned back in her pod, eyes fixed on the clearing. She began to understand why humans had survived across countless worlds, despite being physically weaker than many other species. Their greatest strength was not in muscle or armor, but in the mind and spirit. They could endure, adapt, and overcome. The human finally moved away from the clearing, stepping carefully but confidently into the darker parts of the jungle. Alara's recorder captured every motion, yet she knew that no instrument could truly convey the depth of what she had observed. The essence of humanity, resilience, intelligence, instinctive adaptability, was beyond measurement. She typed furiously. Observation complete. Human dominance over apex predator confirmed. Key attributes: endurance, adaptability, intelligence, composure under stress, predictive combat ability. Potential for interstellar survival and dominance unmatched. Alara's mind wandered to the wider implications. If one human could dominate an apex predator on Krythos Prime, what could humanity achieve elsewhere? What threats in the galaxy might they overcome that no one else could? She felt a sense of awe and cautious excitement. The universe had underestimated humans for too long. She reflected on the humans' movements, the calculated strikes, the fluid dodges, the unwavering focus. Unlike any species she had studied, he had demonstrated mastery of both mind and body, combining instinct with strategy in real time. Humans, she realized, were apex not because they were physically superior, but because they could think faster, adapt faster, and endure better than any predator could anticipate. As dawn approached on Krythos Prime, the jungle began to glow with the pale light of the rising suns. Alara watched the faint trails where the human had moved, impressed by the seamless efficiency of each step. He had left no unnecessary trace, yet his presence had altered the environment, proving dominance without destruction. She considered her report. Words would never fully capture the experience. Yet she knew one truth: the galaxy underestimated humanity at its peril. They were not only survivors, they were masters of adaptation, capable of confronting and overcoming dangers far greater than themselves. Her eyes returned to the clearing, now quiet and still. The predator had vanished, but its lesson remained. Humans could dominate without brute force, without weapons, relying on ingenuity, strength, and unwavering will. Alara felt a mixture of excitement and responsibility. What she had observed was a rare glimpse into humanity's true potential. She would share her findings, but she also knew that some lessons could only be understood through experience. To truly grasp human capability, one would need to witness it firsthand. And as the human disappeared deeper into the jungle, Alara realized something else. This was not a single act of courage. It was a demonstration of what humanity could achieve anywhere in the universe. One human had faced an apex predator and emerged unbroken, and that moment carried a truth far beyond Krythos Prime. She leaned back, breathing deeply, absorbing the silence of the jungle. Humanity was unpredictable, unstoppable, and unbothered. They would face danger, adapt, and thrive where no other species could. And in that knowledge, she found a mixture of awe, respect, and a profound sense of anticipation for what humanity might achieve next. The suns rose fully over Krythos Prime, casting light across the alien landscape. Alara recorded her final note: humans, apex not by size, speed, or armor, but by intelligence, resilience, adaptability, and unyielding will. Witness dominance over Krythos Prime apex predator, confirms potential for interstellar survival and leadership. And as she watched the jungle come alive again, she knew one truth above all. In the galaxy, humans were a force unlike any other. Their story had only just begun, but the impact would be undeniable.